it's Monica, and today I am back on what is a very rainy Sunday evening to do the Finally Fall book tag. Honestly, today has just felt so peak autumn that it felt like time to do this book tag. I was recently tagged to do this video by Emma from over at Emma Books, and this tag was created by Tall Tales. I'll be sure to link her in the description box below. She is wonderful. So let's get started. Yeah. So the first question in this tag is, in full, the air is crisp and clear, name a book with a vivid setting. And for this one, I decided to go with Warcross by Marie Lu because this is one of my favorite settings of a book in quite a while. Basically, this book is set in the near-ish future. Augmented reality and virtual reality become really advanced and integrated into everyday life. And what I love so much about this book is the way that Marie Lu talks about this technology, especially the augmented reality. It made me regret the fact that Google Glass failed as hard as it did because I just wanted that life. Like, I wanted to be able to walk down the street and see like dinosaurs and things. And even like, this is gonna sound so weird, but even like the marketing, like different advertisements and things just sounded so cool. Which I know sounds real weird, but just everything about it just sounded like so much fun. It made me really excited to see like where augmented reality goes. And virtual reality, I'm really like interested in virtual reality, but augmented reality is the one that seems to me like the most likely to have like a direct impact on like everyday life the soonest. And just like that whole setting and atmosphere was just super cool to me. Next is Nature is Beautiful, but also dying. Name a book that is beautifully written but also deals with a heavy topic like loss or grief. For this one, I decided to go with Eleanor by Jason Gurley, and I realized recently that it's been such a long time since I've talked about this book, but it is this incredibly stunning story that has like very fantastical elements. It's like a contemporary literary fiction novel, but it has these very fantastical elements to it. And the story itself follows multiple generations of women, and it looks at grief and the ripple effects of grief and how when someone goes through depression, when someone experiences really deep grief, it's not something that impacts someone in the moment or for a year. It's something that impacts their entire life and also the people who surround them and even future generations. And it's such a fantastically written story and so beautiful and weird and whimsical. So I love that book. It was one of my favorites. I think I read it last year, so definitely recommend picking that one up if you haven't. I also really recommend getting the UK edition because it's stunning. Question 3. Fall is back to school season. Share a nonfiction book that taught you something new. The nonfiction book that I always tend to recommend for these type of questions is A People's History of the United States. This is one that basically retells various points of US history, but takes away a lot of the sort of glorification and spin that the history books that you get as a US citizen puts on different points in history. This is just such a really great primer, I think, for media literacy and historical literacy. I think especially now, it's a book that is incredibly important to understand how, being in a position of power, someone can change the way that the world is perceived, change the way that history is written, and then how that then enables them to like hold their position of power even more. It's not a page turner and that there isn't a plot. It is sort of more of an informative book, but it's not boring, and I find it really fascinating. Question 4. In order to keep warm, it's good to spend time with people we love. Name a fictional family or household or friend group that you'd like to be a part of. For this one, I decided to go with Nikolai's Royal Court from the Shadow and Bone series so that I could be in his presence because Nikolai is the greatest. I'm so hyped for the new series that Leigh Bardugo is doing about Nikolai because he's just like my favorite character. It's not a group of people, more like just one person, but for some reason that's the best I can do because honestly the real answer here is of course the Golden Trio from Harry Potter, but I don't want to say that because that's too obvious. Fall is the perfect time for some storytelling by the fireside. Share a book wherein somebody is telling a story. And for this one, I went with The Power by Naomi Alderman. Now, I recognize that I have talked about The Power at least once, I think, in all of my most recent past videos, but I'm gonna do it again because I love it. It's written by Naomi Alderman, so it's written by a woman, but she is writing from the perspective of a male historian who is living in a matriarchal society. And that whole gender dynamic alone makes the story fascinating, and all the different elements of like when you are sort of taken out of the story that the historian is telling, and you get to read a little bit of like his correspondence with someone else. It's so good. It's so good. There are a couple moments where I literally like wanted to scream because they were so frustrating, but it's so good. And I think she just does such an interesting, fantastic job with playing with power dynamics and gender and all of that. Question 7. The nights are getting darker. Share a dark, creepy read. And of course, I have to go with The Diviners. To be honest, this is probably one of the only books that I can talk about because I am a total scaredy cat and I don't really read scary books very often. The Diviners is about as scary as I go for books. That first book is terrifying for me. There's like multiple parts where it's just like so creepy, and basically anytime I heard someone whistle, I was like, what's up, Naughty John, where are you? It's quite frightening, I think, and other people who I've talked to have said that it's also frightening, so I don't think it's just me. I think Libba Bray does such a really good job of not just like creating scary scenes, because like there are definitely some like really scary moments in that series, but just like building tension and having it build and build and build throughout the books is just so fantastically done. And I love how layered the books are. Like I'm currently reading the third one right now, and like so much is being revealed, and it just like the books just get deeper and deeper and deeper, and I love that. The days are getting colder. Name a short, heartwarming read that could warm up somebody's cold and rainy day. And for this one, I'm gonna go with All My Friends Are Superheroes. This is a book that I don't think I've really talked about that much on this channel, but I read it a few years ago, and it's just such a lovely short story. It's tiny. I don't have a physical copy with me right now, but you could read it in a couple of hours. It's basically about this man who lives in this world where everyone has a superpower, but they're kind of lame superpowers. Like for instance, his wife is the perfectionist, so she literally is just like a perfectionist, and so it's kind of like playing off of like what your one of your like key personality elements are a lot of the superpowers in it, but that's not really the point of the story. Basically, one of the perfectionist's ex-boyfriends hypnotizes her to not be able to see her husband anymore, and her husband doesn't have any superpowers, so nothing he does can convince her that he's there. And it's just this really lovely, weird, quirky romance story, and I just really enjoyed it. It's super fast, super quick, so you'll get through it, you know, in an afternoon if it's a rainy day, and it's also just like really heartwarming. I think it's like the perfect rainy day read if that's what you're looking for. Fall returns every year. Name an old favorite that you'd like to return to soon. And I have been really wanting to reread the Wicked Lovely series by Marissa Meyer, because this is a series that when I first read it, I read it via audiobook. This was years ago, and I really enjoyed it at the time, and I, especially like as the series went on, like the first book I thought was like one of the weakest, but like as the series went on, I thought it did really interesting things, and like becomes this really interesting political story. I think it explores a lot of like feminist issues, but at the same time I have this like vague idea in my head that it had a lot of really problematic elements to it. I basically just want to be able to recommend it or not. So I want to go back and reread it so that I can know whether or not I actually would still enjoy it today. But like at the time that I read it, I remember really liking it and really enjoying where it went as a series, because I finished the entire series and I thought the author did like really interesting things with her characters in that world. But yeah, I don't know. It's a Fae series. I know a lot of people love the Sarah J. Maas Fae series, the A Court of Thorns and Roses. So, you know, I wanted to have something else to recommend because I wasn't a big fan of that one, but I did really enjoy Wicked Lovely, but I just want to make sure that I would actually still really enjoy Wicked Lovely today. So eventually I do want to reread that one. But we'll see whenever that happens, because I have a very, very big TBR, and I feel like I always want to reread other books, but then I just feel guilty because I'm like, but I have so many that I want to read that are new. So we'll see if it happens. Fall is the perfect time for cozy reading nights. Share your favorite cozy reading accessories. So my favorite cozy reading accessories are a cup of tea. I love just a cup of black tea with 2 sugars and a splash of milk, but I also really enjoy, it's like peppermint licorice tea, which sounds disgusting. I hate licorice, but for some reason the combination is magical. It tastes so sweet. You don't need to add any sugar to it. It's amazing. So I always have a cup of tea. My other essential is this blanket, which is a faux fur white blanket from, I think, Restoration Hardware is the name of the store. I don't remember. It was a present. And then I always like to have a stuffed animal to cuddle. So this is my new Winnie the Pooh. He's like this year, if you go to the Disney store, he's like the new design for this year, and I just think he's adorable. I actually like basically have this outfit too. Like I was kind of wearing this outfit when I bought him, so just felt like it was appropriate. So I usually always have a stuffed animal and a book and a cup of tea, some like little cookies to dunk in my tea, and that would be like my ideal reading situation. But of course, not every day can be ideal, and half the time my reading happens on the subway midday, surrounded by hundreds of random strangers. And then the last question is to spread the autumn appreciation and tag some people. So I'm going to tag a few different people. I'm going to tag Kristen from over at Super Space Chick, Sarah from Sarah without an H, Hannah from A Clockwork Reader, and Maureen from Maureen Kiwi. So yeah, that has been the Finally Fall book tag. I'm really happy that it is finally fall, although to be honest, it kind of feels like it's already slowly descending into winter, which I'm also not that mad about, because that means I can pull out my winter coats, which I love, and also it'll be Christmas time. I definitely might have gone to a Christmas market this weekend, and Halloween hasn't even happened yet. So this is me. This is who I am. All right, I'm gonna end this video now before I reveal any other embarrassing facts. So I will talk to y'all next time. Bye.
What are you filming?
The Finally Fall book tag. Have you filmed the Finally Fall book tag?
Shh. I just put a video up. Have you watched it yet, Monica?
I'm gonna call y'all on camera.
Rude.
Hi.
Hi.